Hey guys, my name is Dylan with the anime summary. The story begins at a shield Spada country where we meet Finn, a boy who is scouting around the area seeing all of the problems that are being transpired around him. He throws a hot dog at a man's feet which stops a runaway dog. Finn grabs the dog from the leash and starts walking him back to the boy being his rightful owner. He gives the boy his dog back being named Jack and the boy thanks him for rescuing him. At the children's orphanage, Lindsay, the owner of the orphanage, is sitting down having a chat with the person who owns the whole property. The owner tells Lindsay that the orphanage will soon turn into a big apartment complex, needing them to leave the property by spring. Finn overhears their conversation behind the door, disappointed having grown up in the orphanage. Finn embarks on a journey to earn some cash to be able to fund the orphanage so that the kids that are there can have a place to stay. He heads to a pawn shop, giving the vendor a load of items that he has collected. The vendor gives him an estimate on how much all of his items are worth, being 0, which infuriates Finn. The vendor states that all of the items are invalid, with Finn making a last-ditch effort to give away his shirt that he got from the Poison Phenomenon band. Ignoring the shirt, the vendor notices a card in his jacket and notices that if it's real, it's worth a ton. Finn takes the card away and tells the vendor that no matter how much he were to offer, that he wouldn't be able to sell it. Finn heads to the Belen Lanzenge country, stopping at a casino. He starts gambling at a table where he all-ins against another competitor. He starts winning all of the matches, with the people who he's playing against quitting. A man wearing gloves goes by the name Lucky takes his seat across the table. He tells Finn that he will beat him and that all of his wins before were only beginner's luck. The match begins with Finn looking nervous about going against Lucky. Lucky wins the first duel, eventually winning all of the matches against Finn. Finn is disappointed at the fact that he lost, then after leaving the table he meets back up with Lucky. Finn demands Lucky to take him in to become his sidekick. Lucky shows Finn his lucky gloves, which surprises Finn. A man approaches them and offers them both to head to the VIP room for some champagne. They head into the supposed VIP room, then the man cuts to the chase, believing that both Finn and Lucky are both really suspicious. A man in red hair sighs, having to go against another player, being that Lucky possesses a special card. Lucky is shocked that the man contains a card that also has unique special powers. Lucky in fear about the whole ordeal with the mysterious man, he gives him the card that he had. From the entrance of the room, a man in red by the name of Chris shows up, telling the red-haired man to surrender the card to him. They start engaging in combat, with Chris using his cards to gain his special power, being calories high. Finn is confused on what he's watching, imagining himself in a dream, and questions everything on why they have special cards just like him. Finn bumps into the man running away, with the man realizing that after he left, his card was stolen from him. He hops into a nearby car and knows that if he can make it out with the card he got, it will set him up for the future. The man appears beside him in a red car. They both drive further throughout the town fast. They head into a secluded road, then out of nowhere, Chris appears, crashing all the cars into one. Finn gets out, being squared off against the man, with Finn winning the 1v1. Then after, Chris comes up to Finn, informing that it's his goal to get Finn's card, being ordered by his boss. While they're both at a stalemate, Chris calls out to one of his partners, being VJ. From a different car, he uses vines to knock out Finn. The next day, Finn wakes up to being tied up on a couch. He wakes up to being greeted by Bernard, the person who runs the whole organization. After being untied, Finn scouts the room, with VJ asking Bernard on what they will do with him. Chris appears in the room and tells Finn to forget about his card and of what transpired the previous night, revealing his card to Finn. Bernard takes a seat, explaining that the card he has is called an X playing card, with currently knowing that there are 52 of them that exist in the world. Then explains to Finn that each card contains a different type of power from the others, with the cards choosing which people will use them, referring to the people as players. Bernard presses a button and next to them, Bernard shows the 4-land kingdom, then telling him that the cards are scattered all over the 4 countries. Then Bernard gets up, telling Finn that they've been ordered by King Julius Forland to retrieve all the cards to him. Wendy, another member of the organization, questions Bernard on why he told Finn everything. Bernard picks up the tea set and informs Finn that starting today he'll be working with them. They head to another room, telling him that their organization is called the Old Maid Branch of Pinnacle Automobiles. Bernard tells him that it was only for a disguise, then informs him about the person he went up against last night. The person who had red hair was named Bobby, a part of the Klondike family and one of the biggest organizations in Forland. Bernard persuades Finn to stay, giving him multiple options, with Finn eventually agreeing to all of the terms. He gives Finn his card back, announcing to everyone that Finn will be joining them for the future. Then Bernard gives Chris the job of being Finn's mentor starting out. After Chris takes off Finn to shop for some new clothes, they stop at a diner where Chris is having a date with a lady. A big guy comes in and gets really upset with the waiter that is working there. The boy gets pushed, falling onto Finn's lap, apologizing to him. Finn gets up defending the waiter, then when the man is about to attack him, Chris stops his hand with one hand. The man leaves the diner with the boy thanking Finn for the assistance. He points towards Chris being the real hero and is shocked to see him with the lady. Later that night, back at the orphanage, Finn visits Lindsay, telling him about the new job and to not worry so much about the orphanage. Finn tells him that he overheard his conversation with the owner and wants to help out the place that he grew up in when he was little. After their conversation, Finn says goodbye at the front door, with Lindsay saying farewell and wishing him the best of luck. The next day in the morning, while it's foggy, Finn is greeted by Chris in his car. When he gets in the car, he notices the earrings from the lady at the diner and gets upset at being called a kid by Chris. VJ talks from the intercom inside the car and tells him that the target is still in the armored car driving north on Route 3. Chris speeds up with the cops knowing that it's them and lets them pass by. Chris activates his calories high card and tells Finn that maybe he should sit back and watch him handle it. Finn declines his offer and they catch up to the armored vehicle. From the back of the car, a huge man jumps onto their car. Finn realizes that the man on their car is the guy from the diner that was the waiter. Chris drives them into a secluded area where he knocks the player into a pillar, knowing that his card is Rock and Rock. Meanwhile, the armored car that had the bad guys was taken down by Wendy. Just when the man is about to leap at Finn, Chris smashes the car into him. Then he sends the car and the man into the water. Finn comes to the rescue, saving Chris and the man from being in danger. Back at the dealership, Wendy tells Bernard that the man's name was Robert and that he acquired the card only a month prior. Outside after the whole incident, Finn wonders if there is a chance that he could end up like Robert in the future. The next day, Finn is walking in town with the new clothes he got with Chris. He notices bad guys getting away in a vehicle, then sees a motorbike close by to follow the bad guys. The bad guys in the car tell Leo, the person being held hostage, to give in to their demands. Then Finn catches up to them in the motorbike, stopping the car entirely. After being investigated by the police, Finn demands to know stuff from Leo, but he ignores him and carries on walking. Finn stops in his tracks and Leo continues to walk towards the street. Then Finn comes out of nowhere and hands him a hot dog, then apologizes to him for being mean. Leo accepts the meal and they sit down to have a chat about life. After having a chat, they both make their way onto a train station to head home for the day. Then once the boy leaves the train outside, they meet face to face with the bad guys from earlier, along with Nyx, a player who possesses fire. She lights up the whole train on fire and they proceed to take both Finn and Leo as hostages. Back at the bad guy headquarters, Nick is observing the group and thinks that they are crazy. While the bad guys are doing their thing, Finn unlocks both he and Leo's handcuffs. When they are distracted, Finn activates his cards and they both try to escape the warehouse. Nyx uses fire to try and stop Finn from escaping, but he maneuvers all of her attacks. Nyx corners Finn in a pit of fire, and when she goes for the finishing blow, Chris shows up in his car, blocking the attack from Nyx. Leo plays his card, possessing the unique powers of Never No Dollars. With his powers, he launches a bazooka at the bad guys, knocking them out cold. Leo picks up the card from Nyx, and then as he's walking away, a tower falls behind him. Just in time, Finn steps in and pushes them both away from harm. Finn demands to know if Leo's okay, and he replies stating that playing the hero role will only get himself into more trouble. Back at the High Card HQ, Finn is shocked that Leo's the manager who runs the place. Leo tells both Finn and Chris to get on their knees, then lectures them about their previous missions. Wendy and VJ meanwhile have a chat, assuming that Finn has already met Leo somewhere else. The following day, Wendy is running through the city in a hurry, accidentally bumping into someone. She runs towards the bus stop and loses her slipper, falling to the ground. At the High Card HQ, Wendy finally arrives and VJ shows her the clock and how late she is to work. After drinking throughout the night and being taken home by Chris and Finn, Wendy wakes up recalling her past experiences with her dad. She runs to work this time, not getting caught up or falling, making it to the bus stop. Inside, she takes a seat at her spot and is happy that she made it on time. She gets a phone call and from the phone call can hear bad guys tearing up a place. Wendy tells VJ that she will make her way to the scene to help the civilians and that she won't rely on anyone anymore, following her own path. Wendy starts driving in her car, demanding to know from Chris the situation. VJ catches up to the bad guys and uses his vines to stop the vehicle. From behind, Wendy appears getting out of the vehicle and playing her card Love and Peace. She starts knocking out the bad guys one by one, then notices a hostage situation with the remaining villain. Wendy acts like she's dropping her weapon, then kicks it, sending him back for a moment, then lastly launching him back. Then the hostage from behind gets VJ with a knife, telling him that his name is John, a player who has a card. He reveals all of the bad guys to be merely clones of himself. John corners Wendy and she thinks about what choices she's going to make. Wendy gives into the sword and transforms into a completely different person. She gets excited at the fact that she's fighting 4 people and swiftly takes them all out at once. VJ texts Finn saying that Lap is there, and Chris explains to Finn that when Wendy pulls out the Love and Peace sword, she changes into a completely different person. Eventually, John runs out of stamina and falls to the ground tired. She puts the blade, now glowing red, next to John, but VJ uses his vines to try and stop her. From above, Leo throws a save trying to contain Lap, but gets sliced out of the sky with VJ catching them with his vines. Then when Chris arrives in his car, Lap teleports straight to him, attacking him constantly, knowing that he can regenerate. While distracted, Finn disarms the blade from Lap, and before turning back to Wendy, tells Finn that he is a face of a criminal, getting excited at the fact that they will meet again soon. Wendy wakes up after having a sad dream about her father. Finn tells her that he has nightmares too, then when leaving, tells her that he and Chris brought her back. The next morning, Wendy cleaned the floors and is working hard, being that Finn and Chris are impressed. If you guys like what you saw, be sure to subscribe, like the video, and we'll see you in the next video. Hope you guys have a great day. Peace. Hey guys, my name is Dylan with the Anime Summary. Shortly after Team Highcard took down John, the police arrived with one of the officers giving an informative breakdown of John to Greg, the captain officer on the case, stating that he was the robber and also a member of the Klondike family. Back at the station, Sugar is questioning a group of ladies believing that one of the suspects is Chris, being a part of the Pinnacle Automobiles. Sugar stares intently, knowing that there's something going on at the Pinnacle Automobiles. At the police station, Sugar demands from Greg on why they aren't questioning Chris, being shown on footage from the bank security footage. Greg states that John the criminal was apprehended, and being so that the case has been resolved so that there's no need to question Chris. Sugar assumes that they aren't interrogating him because of the fact that he works at Pinnacle as an employee. Sugar heads to her computer and tells Greg that all of the cases involving Pinnacle employees have been dropped randomly. Then states to Greg that she knows something is going on behind the scenes and that she will eventually find out the cause. Sugar's fellow officers inform her that they don't have time to go through all of the old cases. Sugar knows that they are hiding something from her and won't just stand by. An officer that is interrogating John opens the door and tells Greg that he will need his assistance. He tells the detective to take Sugar instead. In the interrogation room, Sugar sits across from John, telling John to calm down for a bit. John pleads with Sugar that his life is in danger and that the Klondike family will be after him. Sugar reassures John, saying that a police officer's job is to right the wrongs and enforce justice. John questions Sugar if he can really trust her, then proposes a deal to Sugar. He tells her that if he can get guaranteed safety, that he will tell her everything about the Klondike family. Sugar tells the officer behind John to give John witness protection. Then as Sugar is leaving, she demands to know from John what Pinnacle is, and he responds, telling her to talk to Greg for more information on it. Later that night, after the Klondike charity event where they took down John as punishment for betraying their family. While Greg is chilling in the rain trying to relax from what he just saw, when he sees Ben, the leader of the Klondike family, and they stop and greet each other. Greg cuts to the chase and demands to know from Ben if the Klondike family was responsible for the attack on the Trappa Palace. Then he wants to know where all of the cards that were there have gone to. Greg is confused and wants answers for what is going on in Fourland. Recalling the incident being only a month ago, still being persistent on wanting to know what really happened. Ben tells Greg that he wants to see Fourland's complete destruction, then when leaving tells Greg to not trust Theodore, the owner of Pinnacle Automobiles. Before Ben leaves, Greg requests that they should have a drink for old time's sake, but Ben informs Greg that he doesn't drink and leaves the scene. The next day, Finn notices outside of the Highcard HQ that the police are still suspicious of them. Sugar drives her and Greg back to the police station where on the ride, Greg lies to Sugar and tells him that John has been taken out near a bridge. Sugar is shocked about hearing the news and doesn't say a word. On a yacht, the auctioneer explains to the bidders the story of Troplo when it was divided into 4 lands with the evil soldiers from beyond the sea arriving to conquer the island. Then a mage appeared alongside a boy, with the mage telling the people that the boy next to him is going to be the real king of Trapla. The decision being to have an army of 52 knights to form from the four-land country and save the island. With the mage granting each knight a mysterious card, the knights fought for the land and honor, but it wasn't enough, eventually leading to all of them being taken out. The mage gives the boy the mysterious 52 cards to successfully defeat the evil soldiers and save the island, lastly afterwards becoming the first ever king of Fourland. The auctioneer then shows the crowd one of the legendary cards for them to get prepared to bid for it. In the interior of the yacht, Team Highcard is in a room watching the interview from Norman, who's also after the card at the auction. Wendy gets on, telling the group that Norman's secretaries being Bliss, Blitz, and Brandy are both players who possess cards. When Finn gets sick, Leo enters the room, telling the group that they will be stealing the card instead of bidding for it. Leo then states that the cards originally belonged to the royal family, meaning that what they are doing isn't wrong. Leo notices that Finn is looking worse, with Finn vomiting in a bucket, being seasick. Leo tells everyone that he will be changing the plan, leaving Finn out since he is sick, and Finn demands to be a part of the plan. The group bands around Finn, accepting him into the squad and wanting him to participate in the heist. Leo sighs and agrees to have him participate, then kneels down in front of the group to explain the plan. After Leo fully explains the plan and going through with it, Chris makes his way to the vault, being fully searched by security guards who ask for his identification. VJ from the vent above him gives him a card in the last second, and with the card is led inside the vault where they store all of the auction items. Chris grabs the card that's inside the case and he starts making his way into an elevator to the top floor of the yacht. Then once he gets into the elevator, he malfunctions the security cameras with a special device placed, snagging the real card for himself, replacing it with a replica. Back at the auction, Norman is informed by Brandy that the Pinnacles have stolen the actual card, and Bliss Blitz goes off to investigate. Meanwhile, Chris is back in the elevator going up when all of a sudden the lights turn off, with Bliss attacking him from behind. Chris and Blitz start facing off intensely, with neither side backing down. Leo from his intercom tries communicating to the group but gets no responses back. Then when all hope is lost, Finn replies back, still feeling sick, and says he will go check on Chris to make sure everything is okay. After Norman returns from the bathroom break, telling everyone in the crowd that the auction will continue, ending it off with the card. Norman bids on the card for $500,000, with Leo countering with $600,000. While Bliss and Chris are fighting, the elevator door opens with Finn cornering Bliss. Then Finn gets seasick and Bliss takes advantage of him, getting him in a lock. Meanwhile, Norman and Leo at the auction increase the bid against one another. Chris agrees to losing the fight, then Finn, while Bliss is distracted, he smashes his face and Chris kicks the auction container towards the stage. Finn tries stopping the cart but almost throws up and accidentally falls into place on stage. He falls into Leo's lap, then barfs, having Leo freak out about the ordeal and missing his chance to bid. Norman wins the card from the auction. Just as he's about to celebrate and grab the card, a mysterious lady in a helicopter swoops in and takes it. On the ground, Norman is upset that he did everything in his power to try and take the card, but in the end, nothing mattered. The next morning, back at the Highcard HQ, VJ is watching on his phone the news reporting on the incident at the yacht. While the group is sitting down, they assume that the girl that stole the card was a part of the Klondike family. Meanwhile, back at Norman's office, he's mad that his victory was ruined. Then gets upset that he sees Bliss nowhere to be seen. Brandy informs Norman that he took one of his paid leaves for the day. Norman recalls that his kids had parent day at school and vows to himself that the next time he faces someone, he will win every time. In the afternoon, we meet a girl by the name of Chelsea, a player who possesses a card. Chris is standing by, complimenting her on her looks, then she starts laughing and is shocked about the pickup line. Finn from the stairs within the subway walks up towards Chelsea to try and grab the card but gets pepper sprayed in the face instead. Chelsea knows that they are after her card and plays it. Then she uses her special ability, being Love Connection, sticking both Chris and Finn's hands together and runs away. After chasing Chelsea to certain events trying to get her to undo the spell, they sit on a park bench extremely exhausted, running around for 3 days without any sleep. Finn suggests to Chris that they call it a day and get some rest for the night. Chris tells him that he has an important date the following day and that they will need to finish the job before then. While they are both arguing on what they are going to do for the day, Jake, one of the customers, sees them fighting and notices that they are holding hands, assuming that they are dating. Chris and Finn run away from Jake, wanting to avoid the situation. After the following night where they decide to sleep and call it, they make their way to the main part of town where Chris meets his little sister, Michelle. Finn is shocked that his date was actually him talking to his sister, and Chris tells him to just go with it. They head into a small shopping center to shop for clothes and other goods. Then when they are eating ice cream, Michelle starts coughing. Chris asks her if she is okay, and she replies saying that she is fine. When Michelle excuses herself to the restroom, Finn tells Chris that he is a really good brother in front of her. Chris thanks him for playing along in his little act and informs Finn that he hasn't told her anything about being in high card. Chelsea appears behind them and states that Chris is a sad man for lying to Michelle. Chelsea agrees to tag along with them the following day, and she starts getting closer to Michelle on the beach. While they are walking back up a flight of stairs to go back up to the pier, Michelle falls to the ground coughing up blood from her mouth. Chris yells at Chelsea to undo her magic so that Chris can save Michelle, and does so. Chris rushes Michelle to the emergency room where he tries to go into the room to help Michelle. Chelsea uses her spell to tie herself together with Chris, telling him to calm down. They sit next to Michelle's bed, and the doctors come inside asking Chris if they can have a chat about Michelle's condition. Chelsea removes the spell binding Chris, and outside the room in the lobby, the doctor tells Chris that Michelle's condition has gotten a lot worse than before. Chris returns back into the room, telling Finn and Chelsea that Michelle will be fine. But later in the hallway, Chelsea knows Chris is lying about her health, and Chris admits so. He tells him not to worry about it, having been through a lot in his life. Chelsea, seeing the realness of Chris, tells him that once she sees something special from him, that he will be able to have her card. Finn is having a dream about his previous life and household being in flames. Then just when the Black Knight attacks him, he wakes up from the nightmare on a bus sweating. The next day at night, Finn heads back to the orphanage to celebrate Lindsay's birthday. All of the kids at the orphanage wish him a happy birthday, giving him gifts, along with Finn giving Lindsay a new apron to wear. In the kitchen, while Lindsay is making chicken for the kids, Finn pulls out his phone, revealing that he has enough saved up to save the orphanage flat out. Lindsay realizes that since he just started working, that his job is something dangerous, telling him that after tonight that he would like to never see him again, not wanting Finn to be in any more danger. While they're singing happy birthday to Lindsay, Bobby appears at the party seeking revenge towards Finn. Finn starts fighting Bobby, trying to protect all the kids and Lindsay, while Lindsay evacuates the kids from the building. Bobby explains to Finn that Ben doesn't trust or respect him anymore due to losing to Finn for that card on the road, wanting to fully destroy Finn for the embarrassment. The building catches on fire, with Finn noticing Sam, the boy he was talking to earlier that just started living at the orphanage, running by. He gets to the boy, escorting him out to the exit, with Bobby blocking their path. They make their way onto the roof, with Sam jumping off onto the safety net held up by the other kids. Finn launches a forceful strike at Bobby, knocking him into the building and finishing him off. But surprisingly, Bobby gets back up, revealing that he possesses 2 cards, combining the both of them for even greater strength. Finn recalls past trauma for when he was a kid, imagining Bobby as a dark knight, and starts panicking. Bobby lifts him up with one hand, then with his new magical powers, he sends them both further down back into the building. Inside, Bobby makes fun of the fact that Finn had to go through a similar experience from when he was a kid. Then out of nowhere, someone launches a missile into Bobby, fully taking him down for good. The person in the distance turns out to be a lady who launched it from her window. If you guys like what you saw, be sure to subscribe, like the video, and we'll see you in the next video. Hope you guys have a great day. Peace. Hey guys, my name is Dylan with the anime summary. The next day at the capital of the Shield Spada country, an attack is happening where the civilians are running away in panic, with Team Highcard surrounding the area, knowing that the attack was a part of the Klondike family's plan. While the prince evacuates the scene in a getaway Lambo, the mysterious lady, a part of the Klondike family, appears beside him. She takes out everyone in the car in swift fashion. Meanwhile, Chris reports to Leo, saying that he thinks he has found some of the people behind the attack, with Alex, a player, a part of the Klondike family, using rock magic to attack Chris. Then while Chris is distracted, they flee the scene. While everything is going on, Finn is sitting in an apartment by himself, unmotivated and sad that Lindsay told him to never see him again. After the attack, the police arrive and are on high alert from what just happened. Sugar and Greg arrive at the scene. Sugar informs Greg that the civilians have reported they were sudden blasts out of nowhere, along with iron and stone walls attacking them randomly. When Greg tells her not to worry, Sugar gets upset with Greg, stating that they are the police and it's their job to uphold the law. Greg puts a hand on her shoulder and sympathizes with her, telling her that it's sometimes best to not know certain things. Back at the High Card HQ, Bernard thanks everyone for attending, informing the group that Theodore called in order to retrieve any or all cards with the known whereabouts immediately. Bernard states that the city is in a full state of emergency. He hands VJ and Wendy information on where to get their cards and leave together. After Leo leaves, Bernard tells Chris that he and Finn will go together to Polo Stick. Chris leaves, telling Bernard that he isn't his babysitter but only his mentor. Chris makes his way to Finn's old home that was torn up and recalls what Bernard said about Finn having second thoughts and starts making his way to Finn's new place. Chris makes his way to Finn's room and knocks on his door, telling him that they have a job to do. Chris questions Finn if his past experiences are really that big of a deal. Finn replies, stating that he would never understand what he's going through, with Chris agreeing. Chris takes a seat on the ground and tells Finn that family doesn't have to be blood related. Chris tells Finn the honest truth to be positive and not to think about life in a negative way. Then after giving Finn a pep talk, he leaves, telling Finn that he can handle the job himself. Later that night at a club, Jasper and Alex are sitting down next to a group of women drinking. Disappointed at the fact that the plan in the morning didn't work and got 0 of the credit, the girl suggests ordering something, showing Jasper the menu. Jasper notices from the girl next to him that there is a card behind her and grabs it. He looks at the card and gets excited at the fact it's a hint to where Chris is going to be at. At the train station, Chris gets food from a stand and makes his way to the train. Just when Chris takes aboard the train, Finn appears and tells Chris that he's ready for the job. On the train in their room, Finn looks at their target for retrieving the card, being Aya, a 48-year-old that possesses the card with the power called Coming Home. Chris also tells him that she is the target for the mission. After the train ride while Finn is sleeping, Chris wakes him up and they make their way out of the train, when all of a sudden Jasper appears in front of them using his metallic card's power. Jasper orders them to stay on the train and they head back onto the train and into their room. Jasper brags to them about having been tipped off by someone, assuming that it was a fan and being a part of the Klondike family. He gets frustrated with Chris's comments and demands that he and Finn hand over their cards or else the civilians on the train will be injured badly. Chris questions Jasper, knowing if they destroy the train completely that he will go down as well. Jasper has had enough and uses his metallic magic to take out all of the train compartments surrounding them. Jasper sends a scythe aiming for Finn, but Chris swoops in and knocks him off the train onto safety. Jasper almost falls to the ground, but in a panic he uses his metallic magic to stop the train completely. After, Jasper uses his chains from the top of the train tracks to hook Chris so he wouldn't get away. Meanwhile, Finn is passed out in the water with a dog and an old lady noticing him. The following day in the morning, Finn wakes up being licked by the mysterious owner's dog named Roddy. Finn recalls the notebook of their target, realizing that the woman is Aya, who has the card they need. Aya notices Finn being worried, showing his card from his jacket. Aya assumes that Finn works for Theodore by the way he is acting, revealing to Finn that she was once a part of High Card. Back in the city at the Team High Card HQ, Bernard shows them a picture of the train that Chris and Finn were on to the group, assuming that they encountered another player. Wendy and VJ both suggest they go to Polo Stick to help them, but Bernard tells them that Theodore has ordered them to stand by. Leo tells them no matter what, orders must be followed. While Finn is resting in bed, Aya tells him a story about when she was in High Card 25 years ago, where she gets dragged into fights and was in love with their work as a High Card member, but then got upset one night when a colleague was taken down. Theodore behind her, telling her to chase the other player who escaped, being cold-hearted. Following 10 years later, having questions about how Theodore did business and being suspicious about Pinnacle. Then a tragedy struck when Chris was a kid in the hospital. His father, Tyler, is standing over his bed, knowing that if he plays his X hand, he can save Chris. Theodore behind them, ordering Tyler to not play his X hands. Tyler pleads with Theodore to let him use his X hands to save his son. Aya leaves the room, having made her choice, when she heard Theodore say it's Chris's fate. Theodore aims to take out Chris when out of the blue, Aya uses her gravity magic from outside the room to pin Theodore. Using the chance and time they have, Tyler hurries, using the X-Hand to save Chris. But then Tyler gets taken down for using 4 cards at once. After the tragic event, Aya lost sight of who she was as a person, eventually leaving High Card and wandering the world without telling anyone. Lastly, finding a new home and dog, Roddy, to start a new adventure away from society, With the story ending, Aya wants to know from Finn what he would have done if he was in her shoes. Finn thinks about it and tells her that he joined High Card to save Sunfield's the orphanage and that it's his job to collect cards. Then stating that regardless of what happens, he will work hard to succeed. Aya laughs like crazy and hands Finn her card. Finn accepts the card, then the ground starts shaking randomly. They both head outside to see Alex in front of them. Alex uses his earth magic to launch Finn, hurting him. Finn tosses Aya her card and she plays it. She uses coming home to save Finn from Alex's incoming attack. Alex uses his rock magic to trap Finn in a bunch of rocks while launching Aya into the ground. Just when he's about to finish the both of them off, Chris appears, knocking him into the hole, unable to move. After, Finn is confused as to why Chris isn't using his card to heal. Chris retrieves the card from Alex, but when Finn goes over to celebrate, he points a gun towards Finn. Then he shoots Finn, sending him back to the ground and walking away from the scene. Chris, in the night, is driving alone, eating a snack. When passing by, he gets a glimpse of his old life as a kid, but realizes that it's only an illusion. Driving further on his journey. The next day, when it's foggy back at the High Card HQ, Finn wakes up confused as to why he survived the attack from Chris. Leo storms into the room, grabbing Finn, and demands to know from him where Chris went. He tells Finn that Chris took the cards and vanished away from plain sight. Bernard hands Finn his jacket and tells Finn that X playing cards cannot be destroyed by anyone, realizing that Chris purposely aimed at his pocket to protect them. Leo informs Finn that VJ and Wendy are on a mission at the Fourland Palace to protect the king and princes from harm. Along with Finn's relationship being close to Chris, that Pinnacle will be keeping his card for the time being. In the parking lot of the town, Chelsea appears getting out of the car. Chris greets her waiting and Chelsea hands him a bag that he was asking for. Demands to know what is going on with them, recalling her encounter with the police the previous night. When Chris takes off his shirt, Chelsea notices all of the marks on his body. She gets annoyed and plays her card, charging Chris, but he deflects the attack and they share a moment together. Just as Chris is walking away collecting his goods, the cops show up and surround him. Then when all hope is lost, the mysterious lady that is a part of the Klondike family shows up to take down all of the cops. She tells Chris to flee the scene and does so. After having a conversation with Lindsay at the HQ making up, Finn heads to the hospital to hopefully find Chris. He sprints inside to the room of Michelle. Inside, he notices that Michelle is gone, assuming that Chris was already there. He sees a note that says "call me" and calls the number. Chris picks up the phone and should have known that Finn would be there first to the scene. He tells Finn that his goal is to save Michelle using the X hands just like his father did to save him. Finn gets upset and yells at Chris, saying that he is wrong, then explains that family isn't just someone who you're related to by blood. He tells Chris that he's finally found a place where he belongs and that Chris isn't just a colleague. Then states they need to go back together to Pinnacle where the rest of the High Card members are at. Chris ignores the words from Finn and knows that it will be only his time to be able to save Michelle and drives away. Then while he's driving away, a mysterious man, a part of Pinnacle, attacks Chris. Chris gets back up using his high calories card to get away from the hospital. The man is upset about what transpired and tells Finn that he's fired from Pinnacle. Sugar and Chelsea arrive at the hospital to see Finn being escorted by two huge bodyguards, a part of Pinnacle. Sugar gets out of the car, approaching the bodyguards and telling them that she needs to interrogate Finn. She starts yelling at them to get to the bottom of the problem and lets go of Finn into Sugar's arms. While everyone is distracted, Finn unlocks his handcuffs, takes Sugar's keys, and drives away in her car with Chelsea inside. Then, the bodyguards being distracted, Sugar employs the same tactic that Finn did, taking their car and fleeing the scene. Finn is driving with Chelsea on their way to stop Chris from playing the X hand. While driving on the road, the mysterious lady from the Klondike family appears, using her powers to launch their car into the wall, exploding. Finn gets out of the explosion injured, recalling the woman from a previous night. The woman aims her magic towards Finn, but Chelsea steps in, using her magic to grab Finn to safety. The woman grazes Chelsea as they are in the air and they make it away from her for the time being. On foot, Finn is running on the street from the mysterious woman alone to make sure Chelsea is okay. She catches up to Finn, pinning him to the ground, about to attack him with the car. Wendy appears in her alter ego to save Finn. While they engage in a hand-to-hand combat, Bernard appears, telling him to hop in to go save Chris. Sugar arrives at the scene, shocked about what she is witnessing. Sugar orders the lady and Wendy to stop destroying the city, but they both ignore her and continue the fight. Greg appears beside Sugar, telling her that they don't carry them for just looks, shooting towards the lady. The lady blocking Greg's attack, but from behind, Wendy slashes her. Greg shoots another rock to knock out Wendy, and the mysterious lady flees the scene injured. Bernard comes to the conclusion that Chris is trying to use the X-Hand. Leo and VJ arrive in a truck asking Finn to relay the situation about Chris. Finn relays to Leo that Chris is at a park and begs him to take him to Chris. Leo uses his never no dollars to create a separate road into the sky to get to Chris faster. Meanwhile, Chris is struggling to stay afloat trying to heal Michelle. Leo exhausted all of his powers and is embarrassed by the fact. Bernard hands Finn his card and he knows what he has to do to help. Finn jumps out of the car into the air, firing one bullet. The bullet stops the X-Hand from Chris, causing a massive red circle. Chris passes out and is glad that he was able to help Michelle. Finn is excited about being able to pull something off like that being held up by VJ. The next day at the hospital, Chris wakes up to Finn sitting beside his bed, demanding from Finn to know the whereabouts of Michelle. The curtain pulls away, revealing Michelle. Chris is crying in tears, glad that she is safe. VJ compliments Finn on lowering the cards for the X-Hand, but Leo discredits him, saying that the choice was a risky gamble. After, in a dark, secluded sewer, the mysterious lady is taken down by a black knight Finn saw before, with the lady asking the knight on whose side he's on. If you guys like what you saw, be sure to subscribe, like the video, and we'll see you in the next video. Hope you guys have a great day. Peace.